Neo-Nazism continues to run rampant in Ukraine as the Ukrainian president honors the Azov Battalion and other Nazi brigades fighting in the Ukrainian military. Like, bro, you know we can literally see that Nazi insignia, right? They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Meanwhile, the Western media is still actively whitewashing Nazis in Ukraine. The Western media is in denial, despite the fact that Nazism in Ukraine is one of the main drivers of this conflict. You can't blame the Russian people for wanting to get rid of this Nazi scourge next to their border who is attacking and killing ethnic Russians in Ukraine. This is why the Western corporate media has been so aggressive about lying about Ukraine. They don't want the world to know that they are siding with the Nazis. Because before the Russian special military operation, the Western media was clear that there was a Nazi problem in Ukraine. The corporate media used to talk about it all the time. In fact, the United States Congress used to have a ban from weapon sales going to neo-Nazi battalions in Ukraine. The West used to acknowledge the Nazi problem in Ukraine, but then they got the proxy war against Russia that they wanted. Now they call anyone who calls out the Nazi presence in Ukraine as repeating Russian talking points. They even have Google AI that is actively lying on behalf of the empire, claiming that Nazi presence in Ukraine is just Russian propaganda. Like, bro, we literally see their Nazi tattoos and insignias. The gaslighting is insane. It should be completely disturbing to everyone that our ruling class is willing to whitewash Nazis in Ukraine and are willing to completely to rewrite our reality in order to serve their NEOCON agenda.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, welcome back to Nick at Primetime. We have a banger for you today. We have the homie Hodge from ACP, the chairman of the ACP, who will be joining us. We'll be analyzing the results of the election last night, what it means for the working class. I'm going to say this. What did I tell you guys? I told you guys the second that Donald Trump won. It's clear as day that Donald Trump and MAGA, just like Joe Biden and the Democratic Party by funding a genocide, is here to bail out the Democratic Party. Soon as Donald Trump won, I saw people say, oh, there's going to be a MAGA dominance in politics. I'm like, man, I don't know about that, man. I know how this duopoly works. You had Donald Trump and MAGA that put America last. You have Donald Trump that openly betrayed his entire base when he ran on an anti-war platform. Now he's still funding the Nazis in Ukraine. He's floating the idea of invading Nigeria. The only thing he cared about doing as president, as far as governing on behalf of Israel and censoring Americans, you guys think there's not going to be retaliation to this? This moment right here is the exact moment that Zohran Mamdani won this election. Now, with Haas, we're going to explain what the election with Mamdani means. I think a lot of people are getting way too excited, which is the problem with the professional managerial class. Because remember, fam, the professional managerial class views victory as just winning the election and winning the election only. Fam, the battle is supposed to just begin if you're a Zohran Mamdani supporter, and already seeing these people playing and acting like his lawyer instead of holding him accountable, because Zohran is already tweeting nonsense about how we got to fight against anti-Semitism. But it was this moment right here, because the way I'm taking this, because the same way I left at Democrats when Trump won, I laughed at MAGA when Biden won in 2020. I'm always going to laugh at the loser. And we're witnessing massive meltdown from the Zionist lobby because of this. So this is a fantastic rhetorical victory against Zionism. And it is funny seeing the Zionist meltdown. I will enjoy this, but I'm going to show you guys the exact moment which represents the change of the American psyche. This moment right here won Zohran Mamdani this election.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo.
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies
Come on,
fighting
man.
on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing as.
This is the exact moment he won the election. Like, you could pack this shit up right at this exact moment. And the Zionists overplayed their hand because Zohran Mamdani didn't even want to talk about Israel-Palestine like that. They themselves made this a referendum. And I don't know if they was like doing a live, almost like they're using the New York election as a way to test the waters of how the American populace are feeling about Israel, Zion, because they made it about Zionism. Zohran, like, bro, I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, I condemn globalized intifada. I want to run about the cost of living for New Yorkers. And as these people made it clear, the ruling class made it clear that they didn't give a fuck about New Yorkers. They care about, and they only care about, governing for their favorite apartheid genocidal regime. And they're just a small part of the cope. This is why we're seeing the Democratic Party revival, because Donald Trump and MAGA is doing their part. The same way that Biden did his part to revive Donald Trump by committing a genocide, by continuing to fail the American working class by breaking rail strikes. That's what we see in the Trump administration. This is the he's the ambassador to Israel, isn't he? 30% of Jewish Americans voted for Mamdani. So you guys lost the information war. Here's Jonathan Greenblatt from the ADL. You already know the ADL is having a meltdown. Let's listen to this.
And I will tell you, I've gotten so many calls from Jewish New Yorkers who are alarmed. Their kid was harassed in college. Their child was bullied in K through 12. Their synagogues vandalized. So here's what ADL is doing right now. If you are a Jewish New Yorker, we have your back, and we will hold Mamdani, Mayor-elect Mamdani, accountable. And I will.
Come on, man. So I can enjoy these moments. These moments are hilarious. I want to take advantage of any political event that captivates the masses in order to spread my message of anti-Zionism, raising awareness about how we occupied by these Jewish supremacist scum. And unfortunately, I see the pressure working. I've seen the pressure working already on Mamdani. And I have made an argument, and we've seen it. The argument made by many of my Palestinian friends who've been critical of Zohran, that he actually legitimized many of the Zionist talking points against the Palestinian movement by condemning the Palestinian resistance, by condemning globalized intifada. He's not shifting the Overton window to the left. He's legitimizing talking points that Zionists should have been conceding to us. So as people are uncritically cheerleading for Zohran Mamdani, you had the Zionist class who they was going to work. And they have successfully shifted Zohran on his positions on the NYPD. He apologized for calling the NYPD racist. And now he has this insane Zionist who pledged to crack down on anti-Semitism and is that he's going to keep at the NYPD. And I can't wait to ask. I'm going to ask Haas about this, but every time I hear Zohran describe his democratic socialism, it always makes me want to vomit. Like, I don't want socialism to be blamed for when Zohran Mamdani inevitably fails to decrease the cost of living for New York. Because Zohran Mamdani hella overpromised. And this is what we've seen time and time again. These people are allowed to call themselves socialists. They're here to drag what it means to shift. They shift what it means to be a socialist to the right. That is what we see from AOC. These people are advocating for a welfare state. Now, if you don't think this is a criticism, that's okay. It's not everything I say about Zohran Mamdani is not meant to be a scathing criticism. So if you like welfare capitalism, then I guess Zohran Mamdani is your guy. But I'm way beyond welfare capitalism. I want to completely destroy the political power of the capitalist class. I want a dictatorship of the proletariat. This is not that what Zohran is doing. Zohran conceding to landlords, him making alliances with the business capitalist class. This is not engaging in class struggle. He already promised landlords that, hey man, I'm not going to do anything that harm your profits and harm your power. That's what he said. So if you want welfare capitalism, Zohran is your guy. But Zohran is not a socialist. And there are a lot of DSA people get upset when you say this, but we have to gatekeep what it means to be a socialist because there's an active campaign to shift what it means to be a socialist into supporting Banderite Nazis, to condemning the resistance. If you're a true advocate of the working class, a true socialist, a true communist, it's upon us to gatekeep and be 100% clear about what our intentions are. And every single time I'm hearing Mamdani ask this question about socialism and communism, he runs away from communism as fast as possible. This is the anti-communism that you see among the progressive managerial class. Instead of using this opportunity to explain why we should be challenging the power of the capitalist class, the DSA elected, what they do is they immediately cave to the framing. They promote this false idea of democratic socialism as if socialism isn't inherently democratic. But I'll let the video play because we just have to correct the record on this. And even if you like Zohran Mamdani, you should be calling this nonsense out. Why are people acting like lawyers on behalf of these politicians? So we have Haas who will be joining us soon. I want to get thoughts on this because this is every time I hear this man talk about socialism, it makes me want to vomit. So let's play this clip and I'll bring our guests in to respond.
Joins us now.
And the communist joins us now. How do you respond to that when somebody comes up to you and says, I can't vote for you because you're a communist?
I say there are reasons you might not want to vote for me, but let's be honest about my politics. I'm a democratic socialist no matter how many times President Trump calls me otherwise.
Yeah, explain the difference. What is the difference between a Democrat, a democratic socialist, and a communist?
Well, I'm a democratic socialist who's also a Democrat.
Right.
And when I say I'm a Democrat,
I'm a democratic socialist who is also a Democrat. Emphasis and underline the word Democrat there. Because Zohran Mamdani, he said very clearly that he wants to save the Democratic Party. He wants to remind the Democratic Party of their working class roots. It's all a PR campaign to save a capitalist party. But I'll let him finish his answer here.
Democratic socialist and a communist.
well, I'm a democratic socialist who's also a Democrat.
Right.
And when I say I'm a democratic socialist, I explain it in the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said that call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
Right.
And what I actually find is that when you're speaking to New York,
This is just a small point, but I said this 1,000 times. I hate when people quote radical black leaders to explain their liberalism. Don't quote MOK to explain your irrelevant, contradictory ideology. I hate when they fucking do that because MLK called out militarism, was critical of capitalism. So they always use this quote, which as a standalone quote is not a bad quote. But that quote is not a good quote if you use that to justify why you're not engaging in class war. Socialism is not when you're able to vote for a welfare state. That's essentially what he's advocating for. Anyway, let me continue. Let's continue this clip. I want to get Haas' thoughts on this.
Socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
Right.
And what I actually find is that when you're speaking to New Yorkers, they ask you less how you describe your politics and more whether there's room for them in that politics.
Right.
And New Yorkers are asking me, does your politics have room for my struggle to afford my rent, my childcare, my groceries? And frankly, President Trump ran an entire campaign focusing on the cost of living, focusing on the promise of cheaper groceries. And his inability to do so is now making him increasingly desperate to try and stop the campaign that will actually deliver on the same diagnosis that he shared.
Yeah.
So I want to get Haas in. I want to get your thoughts on this. We have the chairman of the ACP who will join us on RBN once again. Thank you for joining us on RBN, Haas. I did. It's good to have you on again, brother.
How you doing, Nick? A long time no see.
Absolutely, man. You was in China, man. You was killing it. You was killing it. How did that even come about? Because before we get, I want to get your reaction to the clip in Zohran, but the ACP is meeting with the Chinese Communist Party. You guys meet with resistance fighters and Hamas. It's great to see. So welcome to RBN. How did that trip even come about?
Well, it was hosted by the Renmin University in China. They were holding a strategic dialogue. I think they do it yearly. And Professor Wang Wen, who connected us, he was very interested in our perspective because he wanted a voice for a newer generation, and he saw the American Communist Party, go so viral and become so prominent online, and he was thinking, this is very interesting. We have Americans who are inspired by us. They have taken inspiration from China, So, he was interested in our perspective in that capacity, I guess.
Yeah, that's dope. As we have social democrats who condemn Maduro, like Zohran Mamdani. He condemned Venezuela and Cuba as authoritarian states. We have the ACP who's willing to meet with the enemy of the empire. And you got to give props to that. So it was cool to see this. It was cool to see this. But I want to get your thoughts on this clip and your thoughts on these democratic socialists in general and the way they tend to define their socialism. I remember Zohran was speaking with Hassan Piker. We covered this a long time ago. I defined socialism as our access to the ballot box. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So this is the clip where Zohran, I'll play it again. I want to get your response. And I also want to get your response and the response of ACP, how the working class should be responding to Zohran. So let me play this clip. I want to give you the response.
No matter how many times President Trump calls me otherwise.
Yeah, explain the difference. What is the difference between a Democrat, a democratic socialist, and a communist?
Well, I'm a democratic socialist who's also a Democrat.
Right.
And when I say I'm a democratic socialist, I explain it in the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said that call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
Right.
And what I actually find is that when you're speaking to New Yorkers, they ask you less how you describe your politics and more whether there's room for them in that politics. Right. And New Yorkers are asking me, does your politics have room for my struggle to afford my rent, my childcare, my groceries? And frankly, President Trump ran an entire campaign focusing on the cost of living, focusing on the promise of cheaper groceries. And his inability to do so is now making him increasingly desperate to try and stop the campaign that will actually deliver on the same diagnosis that he shared.
Man, polished as hell, but I can't stand his answers on socialism. What's your thoughts?
First of all, I can't stand this guy. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I can't stand hearing him. I can't stand his face. I can't stand his voice. I can't stand his stupid ass smile. I hate looking at this guy. So I get triggered automatically whenever I see him. But regarding his answer, I mean, look, this is what you call, somebody who's apologizing before they even had anything to apologize for. Why are you a socialist? Well, he's quoting Dr. King. As if that's gonna what? I mean, what is that gonna do as far as getting you out of the deep end or the hole you're in? You think so? I mean, he says, well, what does that mean that you're a democratic socialist? Well, I just think there should be a better distribution of wealth, is basically what he's saying. And he's misquoting Dr. King to basically confirm what Fox News says socialism is, which is just redistribution of wealth. When in fact, socialism is about ownership. It's about changing the ownership. It's about changing the sovereignty. And the only way you can do that is if you address the question of imperialism. Because the way that capital is owned and constructed and structured in the USA is as imperialist capital. It's intertwined with the global imperialist system. And so he wants to take revenues from that system and basically kind of just promise free shit to more people from it. And that's his whole selling point. The only way you can be a socialist in America is if you're an anti-imperialist. Because if you're saying we need to seize our means of production, we need to have ownership of our production, we need to have sovereignty over production, then what that means is we have to make it accountable to us and us only. We can't make it reliant upon financial revenues that come from exploiting the rest of the world. We have to have and own our own shit.
Yeah. Very well said. The social democrats, they just want to divide the spoils of imperialism. Mm-hmm. They're upset that they're not getting cut of the pie that we're stealing from Africa and the global south, that they don't benefit from our extraction from oil. And when you see these social democrats in the DSA, it's clear to me that their agenda right now, and history will be told whether they will be successful or not, but they are desperate to prevent a rise of an ACP, of an RBN, of any anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist movement outside of the Democratic Party. I said this when Zohran Mamdani won the primary. While people were surprised, Haas, I told you guys I'm not surprised at all because Mamdani is a God's gift. And guys, he's an amazing politician. I don't think anyone can deny in terms of what they were looking for. He's very polished, very well spoken. In a time where people are fleeing the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party committed a genocide in Gaza, after the progressive took L after L, Bernie lost multiple times. You had Cori Bush who lost her seat, Jamal Bowman who lost his seat. It started becoming 100% illogical for anyone to advocate running as a Democrat. So what did the establishment need? You have to give the progressives a bone. You have to give them something to chase so they can give up a mayorship in New York to some guy they can easily control, because they can't give the illusion that you can't win at all within the Democratic Party. So Zohran Mamdani was actually a godsend to them. So these are the people who the success of Zohran is extremely critical to their brand. And I could show you guys 1,000 tweets like these. I could have grabbed more, but I'll show you just a few examples I've seen that shows that these people are, the number one concern is to stop a third party. Like, Democratic leaders are begging to lose their base to a third party. This is in response to Hakeem Jeffries saying he doesn't view Zohran Mamdani as the future of the Democratic Party. So you see how Nina Turner and these people are 100% tied to the change of the Democratic Party. Here, Emma, I'll get your thoughts on this, Oz. Our democracy survival? Imagine how much of a privileged brat you have to be to be talking about the survival of American capitalist democracy. But here's her tweet, and I'll get your thoughts, Oz. Our democracy survival hinges on and Democratic Party leadership.
If I may,
go ahead.
You know what it is? We, the American people, we're supposed to have a contract, right, with the government. Supposedly, that's what they say. It's like the Constitution is our contract. So we have this contract, and so that's what we have, apparently. That's what we were sold on. And it's like, the reality is we have a regime that is extending beyond the enumerated powers given to it within its contract. And one of the ways it does that is this two-party system. It's an unspoken rule. It's almost like it's law that there's only two parties, and that's it, Democrat and Republican. And why is everyone who's trying to build anything outside of that villainized, have their character assassinated, hunted down, persecuted, whatever you call it? Because we're all supposed to accept implicitly the truth. The truth of the matter is that the only parties that can have any chance are the ones approved by the regime. So what our question should be is, what is this regime? Where is that in our constitution? Where do we sign up for that? Well, when did we get this fucking regime that decides what politics has to be? And when did we vote for that? When did we sign up for that? I mean, it's like an Emma Vigeland, who's an airheaded bitch. I'll just say that. I don't have a fucking problem saying that. If I were to ask her, Emma, why Democrats, though? She'd be like, well, I'm just being realistic. That's what they always say. Well, I'm going to be realistic. Yeah. Okay, so your realism is based on an implicit acknowledgement that the only way to do politics is in America is the way that it's regime approved. And you know what? That would be fine, in a way, if that was written somewhere. But that's not even formally supposed to be the case. Like, where is that in law? How can we participate in politics if there's no way to fucking make it accountable to us?
Exactly.
Why are we implicit? Why do we agree to this like cynicism? Emma Vigland, all these like Democrat retards who sorry, we're on YouTube. I'm gonna try to calm my tone.
No,
but like all these people who try to set the terms of politics, you know, what gives them the right to do? Where does that come from? You know, I'm not saying I'm some, you know, extremist who's like living in the clouds. We have a country, we have a constitution, we have laws. So why this cynicism and this so-called realism that says, oh, that's not realistic to be outside the Democrats? Well, why not? Like, says who? Well, because voters won't change. No, this isn't an issue of voters. This is an issue of political operatives lacking a spine, having no backbone. Because if Emma Vigland or any of those other people that you showcased decided to step out and say, okay, you know what, we're going to commit to a new party, guess what would happen to them? The media would write hit pieces on them. They would get villainized on social media. Yep. All their connections with NGOs would be severed. No more friendship with Alex Soros. No more donors. No more connections in high places. You become de facto what you and me are, a dissident.
Yep.
Now, Nick, why are we dissidents? Have we broken any laws? Have we done anything that is in violation of the U.S. Constitution or even the law itself? No, we haven't. But we're treated by the system as dissidents anyway. You, me, and everyone else who's outside of it. And this is the unspoken truth they all recognize. Zohran recognizes it. And they smile. They look in the camera and they smile at us without addressing that elephant in the room, which is, where did we, the American people, sign up for this unaccountable regime that looms over us like this scary, spooky ghost, but nowhere is enumerated in any law, in any code, in any constitution, in any social contract, in any agreement? We are living under a dictatorship. It's that simple.
Don't you know we had to work within the two-party system, though, Haas, because the capitalist class told us we have no choice?
Yeah, we have no choice. And they rule us openly. You know, in the past, it would be a veneer of democracy. But in reality, it was the rule of the bourgeoisie. Now there's no more veneer. These political prostitutes, and that's what I'm going to call them, these political prostitutes look in the camera and they smile at people like you and me and everyone watching this. They look at us and they say, you know what? This is the reality. The Alex Soros, the billionaires, the capitalist class, they rule you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But you know what? You may as well vote for Zohran. You may as well support AOC and Bernie, because maybe you'll get some free healthcare. I don't just want free healthcare.
Absolutely.
I want dignity as a U.S. citizen.
Very well
I don't
said.
want to be a slave. I don't want to be a serf. I don't want to be ruled by this shadowy, unaccountable, pedophile billionaire class that we have. How can we hold them accountable within the two-party system that they control? We can't. There's no voice for the people. I'm a communist, you know that, right? But I'm reaching out to everyone. We, the people, have no voice. Whether you're a communist, you're not a communist, it doesn't matter. You're either part of their big, sleazy, disgusting club, or you're a dissident. Hey, why don't we start asserting our rights that we have on paper, at least, right? Because if those rights we have on paper formally no longer apply, I think we have a problem. Okay?
Well said.
I think that if they're going to come out and admit we're just living in a dictatorship, do it. I mean, let's see if the population will accept that. But we need that confrontation.
You guys realize that's real revolutionary optimism, what Haas said. It's weird how they twisted. They say that we are the nihilists because we demand more for the working class. We are the one who aspire to have the power to bring the capitalist class to their knees. And we want to get to work in order to accomplish that within our lifetime. Isn't that correct, Haas? So Absolutely. Why are we called the nihilists? We are the revolutionary optimists because we look at this capitalist structure, and the number one thing we want to do is tear that down. The real political nihilists are these scumbags. So I'm so glad, Haas, you teed this up perfectly for me, because they're gonna explain why the working class in this country has no choice but to organize with genocidal fascists, but to organize within the capitalist party because the working class is weak, Haas. We have no choice. But
they're nobodies. They're not Alex Soros. They're not billionaires. They're a bunch of nobodies and small people. That's what they say. And they smugly admit that. That's their arrogance.
And this is why you see the New York Times and corporate media write glowing articles, positive articles for Hassan Piker. This is why the guy on the right has an MSNBC contract. The lady on the left, Emma Vigeland, she's invited on MSNBC. I see her all the time when I do my Upholds research because they love nothing more than platforming dumb leftists. So this is why they get the contract. You don't get the contract if you have the politics like me and Haas. That is not where the grip is at.
Bro, they have not even mentioned or covered ACP one time in mainstream news. Not even one time.
I noticed.
You know,
we were smeared at RB as media as the most insane far left network in America. That's like the only mention they will give us. Like, oh, look at these fucking crazy conspiracy theorists.
Did you see how the Daily Show was giving attention to Joe Sims, the old head of the CPUSA?
I didn't see that, but I saw that you guys were dragging. I gotta check that out. But
it's crazy. They're more irrelevant than we are. They have less people than we do objectively, and look at the coverage they get versus us. I mean, yeah, they just shut us out straight up.
Yeah, without shame. Let's play this clip because man, we're gonna have a lot to say here. Here's Hassan Piker and Sam Sear doing their job for the establishment, spreading political nihilism.
I know a lot of people. Some people fancy me to be far too radical, and others say that I'm a sheepdog for the Democratic Party. But like, the reality of the matter is, I obviously have a larger ambition to restructure American society in a way that benefits all workers, right? And I think that the road to achieve that does move from within the Democratic Party, at least.
Some people, Haas, call me a Democratic sheepdog. And then in the next sentence, he explains why we call him that. You guys see how in their worldview, the working class is weak. We have no choice but to go through the Democratic Party. How is this not political nihilism? So using this strategy, which has been the dominant left strategy, at least my entire lifetime, and I'm actually being very lenient with that. At least my entire lifetime, the dominant left strategy has been what, Haas? To infiltrate the Democratic Party and shift it to the left. Hey, fam, what has the working class achieved using this strategy? The only thing that you guys have accomplished is pushing the Democratic Party into supporting a genocide that you failed to stop. You didn't even stop the genocide. Democrats lost. Like, the Democrats had to lose an election. You guys didn't even stop the genocide in Gaza. And this is what I mentioned in my speech that no one covered. None of these people covered because I was dropping truth bombs on them. Did you guys get Medicare for all, Haas? Do we have health care? We got a union. We got a president busting unions. That's what we got. Do we have an increased minimum wage?
I'll tell you realism. To me, realism is this. Let's drop the pretenses. I'm talking to these people. Let's drop the pretenses. And let's acknowledge the simple fact. There is no way we're going to improve the life of working people through the system. There's no way. All we can do is fight through the system. We can fight. We can start our own party. We can engage in politics. We can fight. But the only way we're going to deliver change, observable change for the working masses of this country, is by threatening the integrity of the entire system, by overhauling and changing the entire system. And at the minimum, at least if there was a threat of that happening, they would do the reforms that these social democrats are fighting for. Social democratic reform was never won at the ballot box. It was won at gunpoint by Soviet tanks and Soviet airplanes and Soviet nuclear weapons pointed at Western countries, and all the working people of the world being like, why should we be slaves of this horrific capitalist system when the Soviets have an alternative? So the capitalists said, okay, we can't let the Soviets win over our working people. So what we're going to do is we're going to give them these concessions and we're going to give them these reforms so they don't overthrow us. That's the origin of social democracy in practice. So my question to all the social democrats who are trying to reform the system, where's your leverage? You used to have the Soviet Union to point to and say, if we don't win, they're going to win. What do you have now?
That's a great
what leverage does Zohran have? Think about it. Zohran's now elected, right? What incentive does he have to even carry out a radical program of reform versus the incentive to sell out? It's the AOC dilemma. It's the Obama dilemma. It's the same one. Okay, you got elected. You're in power. Let's weigh the incentives. You have strong incentives to just turn your back on everything you promised and just sell out and get with the program. Or you can fight. But if you fight, it's like you're taking risks and it's a long shot. And if you had the balls to do that in the first place, you wouldn't have been a Democrat. You would have been like Nick and Haas. You would have been outside the system. So you already don't have balls. So for the same reason that you decided to be realistic and run as a Democrat, you're going to be realistic and just sell out immediately. Just like Obama, just like AOC, just like Bernie.
Yep.
And it's simple math to me from where I'm standing.
And Zohran, a young guy. You guys think he's going to risk his future as a congressperson, as a senator, bucking the system too much? That's why he's already conceding on things. That's why he already planned to fund the NYPD more. That's why he kept a Zionist in charge of the NYPD, because he plans on running for Congress eventually. It doesn't start with Mayor. He's a young guy. He has a long career, and you guys have no mechanisms of accountability. But before we continue to destroy these talking points, if you're on the RBN YouTube channel, make sure you switch over to Rumble. We also on Kick too. I know you stream there sometimes. Also on Kick. I'm on other platforms, and you also can follow me on my personal channel. But I'm gonna end the RBN stream here. But we're still live on multiple platforms. So let's get back to that. I don't want to cover this video too much longer. I just do one more clip because I cut it off a little bit in the beginning, but I just want to emphasize this is what the politics of the DSA left is. This surrender to the Democratic Party and begging for crumbs. And they make this devil's bargain I explain all the time, Haas, where they want to serve the United States empire. They're willing to support the Nazis in Ukraine because they think if they are obedient to the U.S. empire, they'll be more willing to implement the welfare reforms that they want. They'd be more likely to increase the money. So that haven't even worked. So if you think I'm just being if you think me and Haas are being unreasonable, it would be different if they had like tangible victories. Like Haas, imagine if they had all these victories for the working class that they accomplished, we would have nothing to say. Like
we would look stupid.
Yeah, but they have nothing. And you know in your personal life, the working class audience that watch RBN, you know these people haven't done shit for you. Most people know they haven't. That's why our criticism is extremely scathing, because it's not like you winning. That's why it's insane that you guys are so smug and arrogant about the strategy that you guys failed. Look at Sam Cedar. Look how much gray he has in his beard. Look what you've been doing it since you was a young baby-faced MSNBC reporter.
No, this guy Sam Cedar, he'll mock you. He'll make a video saying, "Oh, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm wise. I know what I'm doing." Buddy, what the fuck do you have to show for anything?
Nothing. That's the annoying part, Haas, is they act so smug with no victories. That's what irritates me. But anyway, let's continue this. I don't want to hammer on this too much. By the way, we're also going to cover Nick Fuentes' insane NEOCON speech approving the Venezuelan regime change. We're going to cover how MAGA led to this situation in the first place. We're going to show how the Jewish Republican fascist Congress is melting down over what I think is a controlled opposition in Nick Fuentes and the rising. So that's going to be our next segment. We'll get to that here very soon. But I'm going to just play a little bit more of this because I truly want to lay out the nihilism of this strategy. And then I'm going to show you guys how Zohran is moving in a way that should be deeply concerning to anyone who was even a supporter of him. Because I don't know how you feel about this, Haas, but I said 1,000 times, you guys see how hard I dragged Zohran Mamdani, and I will continue to. But I'm not going to blame people who are in such a desperate situation that they was like, man, I want to take this gamble because I want to lower the price of goods. But it's my job to expose why that's a horrific strategy. And it's our job to show these people a different option other than engage in electoralism. So I know it's easy to smugly cast people aside because I was a dumb liberal before, but I don't want to do it. For ordinary people, I'm like, man, I think it's a mistake for you to support Zohran these people. But here's the alternative. We have mutual aid programs. We have the ACP. Let's give people alternative. You guys see how these people do the exact opposite. Their job is to depower you, to sell to the working class. They have no choice but to trust figureheads like Zohran. But let's play the clip. I'm talking too much.
That benefits all workers, right? And I think that the road to achieve that does move from within the Democratic Party, at least in the interim, to at least build class consciousness and build the networks that you were suggesting that are an absolute necessity to create points like structures of pressure against all people in positions of power.
What pressure have you had? What pressure, Haas? You guys couldn't even stop your party from committing a genocide. Go ahead, Haas.
There's no pressure because there's no leverage. The way the Democratic Party sees it is very simple. Trump is the successful one so far, right? And the Republicans are successful so far, right? And winning people over. So the Democrats are like, hey, us or Trump. That's where the leverage is. So when people that want to be more to the left of the Democrats go through the Democratic Party to affect change, all the Democrats are going to do is be like, you don't have any bargaining power here because the alternative to me is the Republicans. So you choose me or you choose the Republicans. The only way that you win is if you get out of that fucking bullshit system.
Yes.
And you win over a bunch of the people that are misled by the Republicans. You win over a bunch of people misled by the Democrats. You go back to the Democrats and say, hey, fuck you. We won over all those people that were voting for Trump. So you can't use them as an excuse anymore for your own bankrupt politics. And the minute a third party like that happen, you would see Democrats, Republicans, and Trump unite immediately into one party to do everything they can to stop it.
You guys see how they use terms like class consciousness in order to convince you to vote for a Democrat? I know you see it all the time, Oz. These fucking annoying DSA nerds. They will quote Lenin in order to.
I am so sick. Why do we got to be roped in with these people? It's like since Obama and Bernie and AOC, they define socialism.
It's disgusting, man. That's why we have to gatekeep it. That's why we have to do. That's why we have to correct the record. But go ahead, Hans. We have to.
We got to kick them out. We got to just make them expose them. You're not a socialist. You're not left wing. You're some kind of liberal monster. I don't know what to call you.
All right, guys. I promise this will be the last clip. We'll move on. I keep interrupting it because I have a hard time watching this shit, to be honest. But this will be the last clip, and we'll move on.
At least build class consciousness and build the networks that you were suggesting that are an absolute necessity to create points like structures of pressure against all people in positions of power. And certainly the Democrats.
I think you use the institutions that you feel like you can use at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch.
Are you speaking from experience? What experience do you have?
I think you use what you have, and I have a lot of wisdom on this. Let me chime in. When I was going hard against the force to vote people, and I was saying, well, the way that AOC can win is do the dumb shit she's already. I was proven right. Remember how we have Medicare for all now? Sam Cedar's wise way worked, right? It's been 4 years.
Imagine being that old and smug. I'm telling you guys, once I hit 60 and we still have a capitalist class, I'm gonna chill, man. I'm gonna turn it over to the next generation. I might mentor them. But if I'm fucking 50 or whatever old this guy is, and I still haven't accomplished anything, I'm gonna take a back seat. I'm still fucking young. We're still damn near in our rookie year. We're still damn young. But imagine being this old. You got grays all over your face. What you should do, man? I'm gonna tell you the real trick secret.
Well, the reason, Nick, you don't get it. The reason that we've been losing is because I'm just smarter than everyone. Everyone's just so stupid. If everyone was smart like me, we would have a great country. But everyone's just an idiot, and I'm just smarter than everyone. Okay.
What a dipshit! All right, I'll just play that part again.
And certainly the Democrats.
I think you use the institutions that you feel like you can use at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of tools.
Exhaust all options.
Exactly, and because there is virtually no evidence that a third party, at least on a national level, has the ability now or the strength to do anything.
Hey, Nick, I don't know if we're
still
still
on here. Go ahead.
I don't think, are we still live? Because it's, I'm hearing some people are telling me it ended.
Oh, it ended on one stream. I think I'm still live. Chat, let us know.
Okay,
I'm live on X.
Oh, okay,
Twitter.
got you.
Yeah, I just ended on one. I'll try.
Oh, I got you. No problem.
Yeah.
I was just making sure.
Yeah, it's all good. But you guys see how what he says is ahistorical, by the way. Even if you just look south of the border, like the Marina Party in Mexico started as a third-party movement. And they gained power because they defeated the neoliberals in Mexico. You know, the person in power right now, I know she's not perfect, but she have a lot of anti-poverty programs she implemented, and she was able to implement those anti-poverty programs because they defeated the neoliberal class by separating themselves from them. That is not the way that you describe infiltrating some capitalist system and tricking them to vote against their class interests somehow. What are you going to do? Engage in some mind jiu-jitsu to convince the capitalist class to vote against their interests? Without any victories, you pretend this is the way. When we see the blueprint over and over again of the rise of Marxist and socialist parties. But anyway, I think I'll hammer it on this segment a little bit too long, so I will move on because you guys see that's their. I said it 1,000 times. These Zohran Mamdani supporters, their number one goal right now, post-Israeli genocide, they saw those polls, Hans, of the American people wanting a third party, rejecting Zionism, and they freaked out because nothing scares these people more than an anti-Zionist, pro-working class movement existing outside the Democratic Party, because this is where their financial structures take place. Sam Sitter has an MSNBC contract, and that's why he forced to support the Nazis in Ukraine.
When we see courage from these people to go against the structural incentives to sell out, I'll take them seriously as a voice. But I look at these people, they're political prostitutes. They're nothing else. Because think about it. I mean, if you're truly principled, you don't care about MSNBC. You don't care about all the benefits and contracts and shit you're going to get. But that's what they're motivated by. So if you're not willing to risk that in any kind of way, I'm not going to take your voice seriously. It's that simple.
Yeah, very well said. And this is, you guys saw the hotspot video I did in the beginning. I didn't have a time to do a long segment, but I did a hotspot video showing how Zelensky was giving honors and awards to neo-Nazi brigades in Ukraine. This is what I covered in my hotspot video. I don't know if you saw this, Oz, but Zelensky is openly honoring Nazis in Ukraine. And despite this going viral and worldwide, we're seeing so many of these footages and instances of Nazis being part of the Ukrainian military. You want to know who is still in denial in the year 2025?
To Ukraine after everyone is now, like I was saying last week, the same progressives who have a problem with Plattner's old tattoo have no problem with supplying billions of dollars in weapons to Ukraine after everyone has now seen that Ukrainian military is covered in swastika tattoos. Be consistent. Well, first off, that's just simply not true.
What?
Oh my
God.
God.
Simply not true.
Way overgeneralizing.
Overgeneralizing?
Look, fuck! I forgot this guy supports Ukraine, right? Fuck. Yeah. This guy's not even left wing, and like, what is this guy? He supports Ukraine. You're not gonna make it. What are we even talking about?
This is the DSA network, huh? Like you guys know, Emma is a dues-paying member of the DSA, and the DSA view the majority report in Hassan Piker as almost like their independent media outlet, the same way MSNBC is for Democrats.
These guys are to the right of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, they are. They are insanely to the right. I would never ever support the NATO left ever again. So I don't want to go on too long of a rant, but I explained this 1,000 times. What one of the first things Zelensky did when he took power? One of the first things they did was ban the right to collective bargaining. Banning socialist parties, banning opposition parties, banning and rolling back labor rights. So what? And Haj, you know this very well. What was one of the first things that hit?
You sound like a Russian propagandist to me. I don't really think that what you're saying is credible. Can we fact check that, please?
So these social democrats support a Nazi regime who suppressed labor rights, and they will.
Nick, the funny thing. These people are trying to gatekeep the left against us.
Yes.
They call us Nazis all the time. Can you please hold the Ukrainian government to the same standard you hold to us? Think about that. we're Nazis and we're fascists, but the Ukrainian regime, the Kiev regime, which literally legalizes Nazi battalions, is a pinnacle of progress. And I don't understand. I hate this fucking guy, Sam Cedar. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to pretend like I don't have a petty hatred of this guy. I do. I fucking hate him.
I do too, man. Like, look, on RBN, we 100% embrace the hatred of these class traitors. Trust me, because they are denying that Nazis are in Ukraine, and I don't want to even spend that much time. I just did a hotspot video showing this, and I showed all the pictures of Zelensky meeting with the United
How
States.
am I a fascist and the Azov Brigade is not?
Yeah, the ACP. These people think the
ACP is fascist, but the Azov Battalion isn't.
Don't you know the RBN is secretly part of the Red Brown Alliance House? That was the smear they loved to use on me. Hey, Nick is part of the Jimmy Dore left, the Red Brown Alliance left.
Yeah,
meanwhile, you guys are making
brown.
alliances. You guys are making alliances with Nazis.
They don't even have the
Ukraine.
red part. They just have the brown part. You know,
that's a good. That's they don't. Yeah, they don't have the red part. They just pure brown. Just organizing with Zionists, supporting Nazis in Ukraine. All right, let me move on from this guy. But look, these are the people who are considered the credible mainstream left, the people who are apologizing for Nazis.
Last week, the same progressives who have a problem with Plattner's old tattoo have no problem with supplying billions of dollars in weapons to Ukraine after everyone has now seen that Ukrainian military is covered in swastika tattoos. Be consistent. Well, first off, that's just simply not true. That's just
Trust
simply
me,
not
bro.
True.
Way overgeneralizing.
Overgeneralizing. I think that's funny. It just shows their alliance. I would never, Zohran Mamdani, it's the same way his head chopping supporting wife support the Free Syria movement. Like his wife supports the head choppers in Syria.
No, that's Islamophobic. You can't. No, come on. They're freedom fighters.
Yep. Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. But you guys know
the Assad regime, was really bad, and the Al Qaeda seemed like a reasonable alternative to me. I'm Sam Cedar, and we need to support Zelensky.
He did a great job avoiding any question about Ukraine. The media would never ask him, but the second that Zoran is ever asked about the Nazis in Ukraine, you already know he's getting that massively wrong. But anyway, despite Hassan, I just thought it's funny. I want to get to our next segment, but this is kind of funny because Hassan, despite boot looking for Zohran Mamdani, he was condemned. You guys know that he was condemned by Mamdani over his 9/11 statements. Mamdani, I condemn Hassan. They openly did this Piker. So this guy did all the propaganda for Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani won the election. He was like, hey, I don't know this guy. I don't know you, bro.
Yeah, we can show here. We have no motion.
This is just like when Kyle Kalinske was kicked off his show by Bernie Sanders, despite glazing Bernie Sanders for years. So Hassan was denied entry into Zohran Mamdani's victory party because, according to Zohran Mamdani, Hassan fucking Piker is too spicy for him.
Yeah, we can show here. It's fine. We have no motion. We're out. We're done. We're washed. We're washed.
Probably getting kicked out within the next 15 minutes.
Most likely. We'll be escorted. No drink tickets. No drink tickets, no bitches. No drink tickets, no bitches.
He's taking it well. He's taking being rejected by this guy he's been doing propaganda for a very long time. I'm not gonna lie, he is taking that pretty well. But it's just man, we don't know you, bro. So Zohran Mamdani is already distancing himself from his DSA supporters. He's already doing it.
Yeah.
And this here is what I view as the worst nightmare blunt rotation of all time, because these are the people they allowed in his victory party. Look, they have Mehdi Hassan, Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman who voted for the Ukraine proxy war, even though he didn't know what
this fucking Mehdi Hassan MI6 piece of shit. I can't stand that guy too. I am the authority on everything that is pertaining to morality and ethics when it comes to left-wing politics. You have to listen to me. I'm Mehdi Hassan. I know everything that I'm talking about. He's a fucking British spy. Fuck this guy.
Another head chopper supporter. He's another Free Syria supporter. He made it.
You are incredibly immoral for refusing to support Al Qaeda in Syria. Al Qaeda has done nothing wrong. ISIS has done nothing wrong.
Hey fam, I cannot underestimate how much damage Mehdi Hassan has done to the Free Palestine movement, because there are a lot of people in the Free Palestine movement who still believe Mehdi Hassan is a good faith actor to this day. And Mehdi Hassan is responsible for brainwashing and convincing a lot of pro-Palestinian people that the head choppers in Syria was pro-Palestine.
Nick, why don't you answer this question? I speak in a very harsh tone against Benjamin Netanyahu consistently. My words are so harsh for him. I have done so much for Palestine by my harsh denunciation of Benjamin Netanyahu. You still should support Democrats. You should still support the system, and Israel still has a right to exist. However, my tone of voice is very angry at Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's his entire brand. I'm gonna quickly get through these last few receipts. I don't want to play this video. This video is as cringe as it looks, even in mute. The head chopper brigade, and remember, Jamal Bowman is the guy who voted for the Ukraine war despite not knowing what the Donbass was. So this is the NATO left. Like, people think I be talking like this is what the NATO left is. Sam Cedar, Mehdi Hassan. He's like, I support you. If you stand for Palestinian resistance, you must support the Nazis in Ukraine too. That's the position that these people take. Anyway, let me move on because I gotta get to our Nick Fuentes segment. But here's Zohran Mamdani. His first tweet, fam, as mayor. What is he doing? The first tweet is him legitimizing the anti-Semitism hoax that we have been debunking on RBN for years now. Look,
I literally in a given day get DMs worse than whatever this is. Like, am I a victim? Zohran should pass laws to protect me from all the people that say racist shit to me. Apparently, right? Because I'm a victim now. And what is this fucking graffiti? I bet Zionists themselves did this shit.
Yep, absolutely.
I bet you that who does this? I've never heard of anyone doing this shit.
So the first tweet you send out is legitimizing this obvious.
This is the most urgent, important thing facing New York right now. Okay, it's not homelessness. It's not all the poverty. It's anti-Semitism.
What did I tell you guys? Like all the Zohran people who was upset at me. There was even people like, Nick, come on, man. I said that when Zohran Mamdani takes charge, he's going to weaponize the NYPD against pro-Palestinian protesters, just like every other administration. People are like, man, Nick, you just talking shit. Then he announced that he was going to do this. He said he's going to implement an anti-Semitism task force. So he was already selling you out. So the first tweet, he had one tweet where he said, thank you for electing me and giving me power. And then he sent out this tweet. This is disgusting and heartbreaking acts of anti-Semitism. What did I tell you guys? This is exactly what I predicted. They're going to use the Muslim progressive as the way to legitimize the anti-Semitism crisis, which is used to censor Americans and implement a Jewish fascist police state. And who do they need to legitimize that, Haas? They can't have some white guy. Because when they did that last time with Biden, they wasn't buying it. What they need a Muslim Zionist who legitimizes the existence of the state of Israel. Anyway, let me finish the tweet because it's absurd. This is disgusting and heartbreaking act of anti-Semitism, and it has no place in our beautiful city. As mayor, I will always stand steadfast with our Jewish neighbors to root out the scourge of anti-Semitism out of our city. So how long? How long is it until we see the NYPD start beating the shit out of Palestinian protesters? Exactly what I mentioned. Exactly what I said was going to happen. And to your point that you mentioned, Haas, and I'm going to speed this segment up. I know we're going a little bit long here. But
yeah, they straight up. It's like a Zionist psyop. They fucking will do this shit to themselves and then say that they're victims.
Every single one of these stories should always be taken with a grain of salt. It's very important for them to fake these anti-Semitic attacks, and we covered it. This is why I said that anti-Semitism, the psyop is bullshit. I'm around the most radical pro-Palestine, from the river to the sea motherfuckers that walk in this earth, and I'm sure you are too, Oz. And I have not met one person, despite me being around a ton of Palestinians. I'm talking about the most radical of the most radical, fam. I have pro-Palestinian roundtables. I have not heard one person my entire life said, hey, Nick, I don't like those fucking Jews. What's up with the Jews? Have you ever heard? I never heard anyone be like, man, fuck those fucking Jews, man.
Nobody,
Never.
Because at
it's
the end
only
of the
the
day,
right-wing feds. It's only the Nazi
yeah,
feds.
that's just.
We will get to them soon. But it's only those fed boys and the right that do that. But no one, especially among the left,
nobody actually hates real Jews. Nobody hates Jews just for being Jewish. Okay, nobody that I know, at least. I'm sure they exist, of course, but it's like our circles, the left wing. No, we don't hate Jews.
Yeah, it's the most obvious Psyop use to smear the left. They did forever. They call Malcolm X a fucking anti-Semite. It's been a long proven tactic of the Mossad. So if we know that there's a history, and I know you do know this, Zohran, of Jewish people faking anti-Semitic attacks in order to legitimize a police state, why is the first fucking thing you tweet about that? So who sent him this tweet? So you guys think Zohran is browsing Twitter? He has interns and shit tweeting this for him. That's how politicians generally work. So you know that Zohran Mamdani, who has damn near, I'm sure he's over 1 million now. Like, where's he at? Yeah, over 1 million followers now. So you were just elected mayor. Think about it, Haas. You know the world is watching your first tweet. You know that your first tweet is going to carry so much weight. Look how many impressions that this tweet got.
10, oh my God,
10.1 million views. So Haas, you know, and they know that the first tweet you send out has massive weight and will define the rest of your political career as mayor. So what is the first thing that Zohran tweets out while he has the eyes of the entire world on him? That he knows they're going to get at least 10 million views. Legitimizing anti-Semitism hoax bullshit. So I don't want to hear you guys say later, oh my God, Zohran Mamdani betrayed me. No, you guys knew exactly what the fuck you signed up for. This is exactly what me and Haas warned you about. This is what all the homies warned you about.
Nick, I'm going to be real, okay? When I first heard about this stupid guy, I was actually shocked because I was like, hasn't everyone gotten it now? Like, I didn't think people would have the audacity to do this again. After AOC, I was surprised. I was like, look, I'm gonna confess something. When we launched ACP, we were thinking, this shit is dead. Of course, it's dead. I mean, the whole DSA, AOC, like that's just over. It's done. It's buried. Like it will never recover from like how much AOC and Bernie and like how much they just betrayed everyone. Like, okay, everyone understands now. It's never gonna happen again. So when Zohran occurred, it was actually a big surprise to me because I was like, wait a second.
Same here,
Are they
man.
actually selling this shit again? Like,
yeah, that's the same thing I said.
And then I'm like, really? Like how many more fucking times are we gonna have to deal with this? Like nothing is moving forward as far as like the mainstream left. Like they're not, it's just like forever. It starts with Obama, right? It's just so. What is it going to take to convince these people that it's bullshit? And then you got to think. It's like, well, the major popular talking heads who are favored by the system, who keep pushing these people on us, they do know better. But they're agents of the system. They're compromised. They have to be compromised. Nobody about their damn mind who saw what AOC, Bernie, and the rest of them have done as far as selling out would ever dare to do a repeat like this unless they were compromised.
Yep.
From the get-go,
So I covered one of my first you can find it on YouTube. One of my favorite segments I did all year because it attracted a ton of tears. Like the amount of Zohran fans like, Nick, what the fuck? Because it was like when Zohran was catching steam. So I'm like, let me look into this guy for 1 second. And the first thing I found is that he was funded by the Working Family Party. And I'm like, you guys know the Working Family Party is funded by George Soros, right? So I had a video. I had a viral tweet thread where I spent like, hey, man, you guys know that Zohran is taking billionaire money, right? Like, you guys are shifting.
This is literally one of the most anti-communist families on planet Earth. They bankrolled the color revolutions in Eastern Europe in the late 80s. These guys are literal fascists. They're Nazis. They cultivated the rise of the Nazis and the far right in Eastern Europe. and they took credit. Soros takes credit for taking down the communist states in Eastern Europe.
Jesus Christ.
And that's who we're dealing with.
Those are the people who was donating to Mamdani. I was like, hey man, I thought that you guys was against like super PACs on principle. And then it's like, no, we gotta do whatever we take to win. I also shared this. Liz Simmons, a diehard Zionist who advocated for the crackdown on freedom of speech of Americans, a diehard genocide supporter. She donated $250,000 to Zohran's campaign. So the second that she did it, you guys see, I tweeted this out literally a week afterwards. Well, I was like, bro, what the fuck? Why is he taking not only just billionaire money, he's taking billionaire money from Zionist billionaires, Elizabeth Simmons. And then people were surprised when he came out later and said that he's going to keep, I keep forgetting her name, but that crazy Zionist NYPD chief.
Can I say something?
Yeah, for free, Oz.
I don't want to be out of pocket, but it's just like I'm itching to say it.
No, we don't hold back on RBN, man. Trust me.
Okay, like I gotta be real. Like I'm raising a question. It's not racist. What's the difference between Zohran and a call center scammer? Am I allowed to say that? Like that's what I see a scammer. He's just straight up bamboozling everybody. All this shit comes from him smiling like that and promising shit. And he's just a run-of-the-mill scammer. Taking everybody for a ride.
All right, man, we can continue this. I gotta move on for this segment because this is a fun stream. But always great having you on, Oz. I'm gonna end it here just on our elections because I don't even have the energy to do a segment on this. I would just mention it. I might do one later. But the Democratic voters are so cooked; they literally voting to have the CIA govern them directly. So the person who AOC fundraised for. I didn't have a time to do a segment on it, but I'm sure you guys seen it. AOC sent out fundraising emails in support of the genocidal Zionists that came directly from the CIA. Look, Abigail Spanberger, former Congresswoman and CIA agent, will be the first woman to serve as governor of Virginia. Aren't you motivated, Haas? Isn't that amazing? Isn't this a victory for feminism? The first CIA governor is a woman. So this represents how cooked the Democratic Party is. And these are the people that AOC and Zohran Mamdani are 100% okay with forming a coalition with. Like Emma Vigeland, and this is what drives me crazy, Hobbs, because it would be one thing if they was principled. I may disagree with them, but if they was principled, they'd be like, man, I'm okay with organizing with liberals, but I'm also going to organize with the ACP. I'm also going to show up to RBM Mutual. If you're one of the people that like, man, you just a super happy motherfucker, and you're like, I want to organize with everybody. Imagine if you showed up to Trump rallies, MAGA, like, what could I say? I'm like, man, this guy's principled. You want to organize with anyone. That is not the case. PSL, the people who show up to No King's rally, the people who support Zohran Mamdani, they would never show up to an RBM Mutual Aid event.
No, never.
The same way they would never show up to an HCP event.
Never.
They would never show up at a MAGA rally. It's a Democratic campaign farm, and that's what annoys me. Now, you guys are okay with these people being a party with these people, but you can't associate with us. But anyway, I'll give you last thoughts on Zohran, and then I'll get to our last segment. I'll try to make the last segment a little bit quicker on Nick Fuentes. But Haas, do you have any final thoughts on Zohran, on the election, and the absolute state?
I need more time to think about and process, like, what does it mean that we're doing this repeat? Because I thought we were past it. I thought it was over. Apparently not. So what does that mean? You know? And when I say that, I mean, like, we need to strategize a way to stop this cycle from happening. It just keeps happening over and over again. You know, we are facing the most difficult war of our information warfare and being outside the system. And it's like, it's exhausting because how do we get the attention, you know, that these people propped up by the system do? How do you compete with that? And we have to really think about that, you know, and I have thoughts of myself, but I think that if any, you know, in the same way, you know, when like Trump won in 2016, a lot of leftists were like, you know what, we should self-criticize, go back to the drawing table and be like, what did we get wrong? That's how I feel about Zohran in a lot of ways. Like how did this happen again? How do we let this happen again? You know, what are we doing wrong maybe to not communicate clearly or loudly or intelligently enough in terms of like getting it out there? Like why this is a dead end, you know? So that's my takeaway, I guess.
You're 100% on point, man. Because I had the same, like there was a part of me that was feeling dread. Like, man, we really do. I know exactly what you mean, man. I like you phrase it perfectly. Because I explained on one of my streams before I was having one of my meltdowns, and I was destroying Hassan. I was like, I'm not doing this because I want like clicks or anything. I'm not doing this because I'm jealous of this person. I'm doing this because these people for whatever reason have massive relevance in the United States left. There are young Gen Z people for whatever reason that trust these people. And I have watched these people for 10 plus years lead the working class off a cliff. The RBN is a post-Bernie movement. Unlike many people, we did not ride the wave of Bernie Sanders. We was a left-wing think tank that developed to analyze what should the left do post-Bernie Sanders. So when you describe how people start falling for it again, because our big thing, we wanted to get people into mutual aid, start organizing ourselves, to have ourselves build out our own government. Like we need our own socialist infrastructure government within this. These are things that we've been advocating for, just brainstorming. So to see people regress and go back to 2019, it is 100% depressing. So I 100% relate to what you're saying. But let's get to the last segment. I know I don't want to keep you too much longer, Oz, but I'll make this last segment a little bit quicker because we have to get to Nick Fuentes. We have to get to Nick Fuentes, and the reason why the pendulum keeps swinging. I explained this in my intro monologue, how the ruling class designs to keep the pendulum swinging. Whenever Democrats need help, the Republicans will help them out. Whenever Republicans need help, the Democrats will help them out. I know we view January 6th as a joke, but a lot of people thought that MAGA politics was dead after January 6th because he scared the shit out of the suburbanites. The suburbanites were scared as fuck after January 6th, and that led to Joe Biden winning. That's one of many reasons, right? So MAGA and Republicans was weak. So what do Democrats do? They fund the fucking genocide. They break rail strikes. They do whatever it takes to help elevate the other party because we know the duopoly system cannot work without two strong parties, and they actively work to facilitate that. So we're going to cover why there was this massive blue wave yesterday. Why New York would even consider voting for a Muslim progressive is because we have Republicans who put America last. We witnessed the rise of the I don't know how to say it, goypers, the people who are critical of Israel because the American people are rejecting Israel, and even on the right, you've seen these politicians called out for it. So I'll play this video, and I'm leading to Nick Fuentes here because they're now their new golden boy that they are taking advantage of. They're taking advantage of this situation. So here are Republicans who can't even answer the question on whether they view America first or Israel first. And this kind of cutlery is what led to the rise of Nick Fuentes in the first place. That's why I'm starting here.
Excuse me, sir, America first or Israel first? Come on, sir. You answer right, you might have a future in this town, bro. You'll never be anywhere in politics without having a backbone and a spine, sir. Chicken.
So that was a base video. So there's this push on the right to hold their politicians accountable who's selling out the American people to Israel. And the establishment in the Republican Party understands this. So I'm going to show you guys this first before we get to Nick Fuentes, because here's Lindsey Graham. They had this Republican Jewish coalition Congress, which is essentially a Jewish supremacy rally. Like I could show you guys so many clips from this, but this fucking gathering, they might as well had Klan hoods on. Like they might as well had Nazi insignias on. The shit we seen coming out of this Republican Jewish coalition was insane. I don't know how much you've seen of it, Haas, but I'm gonna show you guys. Yeah. This is the neocons on the right melting down about Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. So let me play this clip, and I'm building this because we're gonna get to Nick Fuentes here very soon because he played a very important role. We discussed how we have left-wing ops that work on behalf of the Democratic Party.
They have Fuentes, the same.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Nick Fuentes, he's the op for the Republicans, and this is the reaction from the establishment on him.
He recognized Jerusalem as capital of Israel. Why? Because if you got a problem with that, take it up with God. He's the guy that did it, not Trump.
What?
So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
We're killing all the right people. And I said it all the time. These people are gangsters in suits. Everything that they paint Hamas and terrorists as, this them just bragging casually how we murdering children in Lebanon with pagers. Yeah, we starving children in Palestine. This is the Republican Party that they want to see. And people like Mark Levin, they're having a meltdown because even the most brainwashed right-wing STEM is looking like, hey, man, I don't think we should be spending our taxpayer money on this. And this is the message that Nick Fuentes is saying. So let me play this live clip. I'll get you in there.
And I just
here's Mark Levin melting down because people on the right are starting to see like, hey, man, this fucking America first thing is a scam. It was an Israeli op.
And I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me, and you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show,
fucking
maybe you have a
boomer,
little radio show is going to change the world like hell it is. Not if I and everybody else.
You
have
think?
something to say about it.
You think your so-called telegraph, your pigeon by the letter? You think that your Morse code machine and your so-called, they calling it a telephone? Is that what it is? You think that's gonna stop us? No. These guys are fucking boomers.
Boomer as fuck. Boomer as fuck. And isn't that like a terroristic threat? Like this is the Jewish fascists openly admitting that you have no control over your government. I think, as goofy as it sounds, I think this is a threat that the working class should take seriously. Like,
no, I mean, of course.
Imagine saying this unironically and not realizing you're Darth Vader. Like people are against us killing kids. You think you're gonna change the world? Like, I think this is so humorous.
Or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show. It's going to change the world like hell it is. Not if I and everybody else have something to say about it. And
you think you're going to change the world? Not if I have anything to say, but imagine saying a sentence like that and not immediately realizing.
This guy already has been changed, all right? He literally has no touch on it. He's literally talking about the radio show. He's talking about fucking radio, bro. This guy's totally... He's lost the plot.
So you guys see how... I've explained it 1,000 times before. I view our politics as legitimate as the WWE, as pro wrestling. It is fake as fuck. Like the Hassan Pikers who we just showed, they're supposed to be the babyface. Like I explained it 1,000 times. The babyface is the person supposed to be the good guy. The Zohran Mamdani is the good guy. The Chuck Schumer, he's the heel. Chuck Schumer is the approved heel. Even Jon Stewart will go after Chuck Schumer because he's the bad guy. You guys see how they have approved bad guys? And the approved bad guy from the Republican establishment is now Nick Fuentes. He's the guy who's beyond the pale. He's a crazy neo-Nazi. But I'm going to ask you guys a question. You had Randy Fine, who openly endorsed carpet bombing Gaza. Like he openly endorsed mass murdering Palestinian children. So what makes Nick Fuentes uniquely evil compared to someone like
his
Randy
whole edge and popularity comes from this fake perception that he's like this big bad villain or scary guy.
Exactly.
If that was taken away, he'd be a nobody.
And we exposed him before in our last stream. But despite what the Hills, what the real bad guys do, people like Lindsey Graham, they exist to uplift who Nick Fuentes actually is. Like the same way that Hill's supposed to make the babyface look good. Like it's the fake criticism. So because Nick Fuentes at the end of the day is a neocon. He is advocating.
Nick, if I may, real quick, because I've been thinking, it's like when we say dialectic, this is what it is, okay? This is their system of control. They have an understanding of dialectics up at top. I think they do, because what they do is that they have one person, they have a Randy Fine, and then they anticipate the response to Randy Fine, and they capture and seize upon that response so that they can control it. And in this way, they have a controlled dialectical system. And everything is dialectical. I mean, I'm a Marxist. I think everything is dialectical. But they've created a dialectical system where they anticipate potential opposition, capture it, monopolize it, control it, and seize upon it. And it's a fucking puppet show. And you got to ask the question. We see the hands. Okay, we see Nick Fuentes, Randy Fine, whatever. Who's controlling that shit? Like, where's the head? Ask the question, where's the head?
And Nick Fuentes was allowed to exist, and this is what his Goiper army don't understand, because he's here to legitimize the anti-Semitism host that they want to push.
This is a glorification. This what you're showing now on New York Times. That is a glorification. I've never seen somebody gassed up. He's gassed the fuck up. They don't. You think they don't know how to fucking hurt someone's image? Nick, I think you would find that laughable, right? You don't think these guys in the New York Times and the media know how to hurt someone's image? Of course they fucking do. They do it to us all the time. They know how to fucking tarnish someone's image. You think this is tarnishing someone's image? You think this is tarnishing his image? They know what they're doing.
The same way they did the glamour shot, the amazing article about Hassan Piker, and
they know what they're doing. To the left. Of course they know what they're doing.
Come on, do you guys think this is fucking legit? So Charlie Kirk dies, and they see the rise of young youth going towards Nick Fuentes. And you got to understand, Nick Fuentes' entire criticism of the Republican Party wasn't based on class, wasn't an analysis of imperial structures. It was, they won't let me into the club.
And if they do, he'll sell out immediately. And he already is. And they haven't even let him in. But it's never been about principle. It's always been about, I was locked out. I want revenge. That's all it is.
So now they're trying to use Nick Fuentes and prop him up as the new Charlie Kirk. And I truly believe that they have people like Lindsey Graham, and you had all these Ted Cruz call him out by name to elevate him. And now they're doing these glamour shots on him. And this is why, because he's not a threat to the system. This is Nick Fuentes coming out full-fledged as a George W. Bush Republican, because his criticism of Zionism had no substance of it. In fact, we explained how his criticism of Zionism was simply jealousy. He wanted to implement white Zionism in the United States, and he's upset because he viewed the Jewish Zionist community as being more successful at spreading their supremacy than him. So here, this is Nick Fuentes endorsing the regime change in Venezuela. And we end our stream on this. I know we're going a little bit long, but let's play the video and we end it on this last analysis here. This is why Nick Fuentes is being propped up, and this is why he's a complete fraud.
I actually probably favor regime change in Venezuela, to be honest. I think that is a perfectly legitimate strategic goal of the United States. We talk all the time about Israel and the war over there, and those are wars that don't benefit the United States. I actually think it would be beneficial if we had a pro-American regime in Venezuela. Probably would be good for us because of the resources they have.
That's what Jesus said. It's Christian.
Imagine how much of a charlatan you have to be spreading the idea to your poor, uneducated white audience that United States regime change war benefits the American people. That's the argument. I don't even want to spend that much time. I know we went long. I don't want to spend that much time debunking this, because we know why this is absurd. The same way I went after Marjorie Taylor Greene for supporting this. But he is making the argument to his poor white supporters who did not benefit from United States imperialism already. They're somehow going to benefit from capitalists privatizing and stealing Venezuelan natural resources. You think that shit going to trickle down to you, son?
I'll just say this. There's two possibilities. The first one I think is the most likely. He's getting an order. He's getting a call, and he's saying, "Hey, you have to take." And he always moves this way. He always conveniently takes the position that, in the end, supports the hegemony, right? But then the second thing is he might be LARPing as a realist. Well, the United States has all these countries are motivated by self-interest. This is what happens when you don't have class analysis. Okay. The United States benefits. Who is the United States? Is it you? Is it me? Who is it? It's a ruling class. And there is a conflict of interest within America between different classes. If you're an idiot who doesn't have class analysis, you're just going to say, well, there's just a little bit too much of a Jewish lobby. Otherwise, there's a unified United States. No, there's not. There's a class distinction, and there is no unified United States interest. No such thing exists. What the United States wants is what the ruling capitalist class wants. And yeah, that includes the Jewish capitalist class. That includes the Zionist billionaires. But at the end of the day, they're not motivated by the Talmud. They're motivated by their bottom line, which clearly is inversely proportional to the interests of the American people.
Yep. Remember, never forget, Nick Fuentes was at the January 6th protests, and he told MAGA supporters to storm the Capitol, and he wasn't arrested. Isn't that interesting?
No, it's why, Nick, he said, I killed Charlie Kirk. Enough said.
Yeah,
he never retracted that, by the way. He said that we killed Charlie Kirk. The ACP did.
Bro, you know how fast we would be in Guantanamo Bay if we had a left-wing January 6th? Can you imagine if Haas was at the Capitol? Like, we need ACP to storm the Capitol.
I want to actually be locked up in reveal information that I even haven't before. Not only do I get questioned every time I enter this country, every single fucking time. I mean, it doesn't, even if I'm coming from Canada. But if I have friend or family that crosses from Canada, purely personal, by the way, nothing political, they're getting detained and questioned too, just because they know me.
Crazy.
So how fucking crazy is that? I was never involved in any criminal anything. I wasn't at January 6th. The only reason is because of my views. Fucking crazy.
Haas, it's always great to have you on, man. We can go all night, but I'm gonna end at around 90 minutes. It's great to have you on. Any last final thoughts on whether you want to talk about the future ACP, what the left should be thinking after the last night's election, wherever you want to take it. It's great to have you on, Haas, as always. It's a fun conversation. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure. Always a great time.
Well said. Make sure you guys follow Haas and reject the professional, liberal, managerial class, cancel culture bullshit. If you see someone who is advocating for the working class, who are advocating for anti-imperialism, don't convince these fucking gatekeepers. This is what me and Shaman, we talking about these gatekeepers. Don't allow them to convince you to cancel ACP members. Don't allow them to convince you to cancel anyone who is asking questions about the Democratic and Republican Party. Reach out to your neighbors. Reject liberal cancel culture. I appreciate you guys. Have a great night. Take care.